Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live today. I have with me the amazing Heather Ruth, and I am so excited to have you here. You
Hi.
are a certified numerologist. You've been in numerology for years now.
Yeah, a few years, like three or four at least.
I love it. And you have so beautifully integrated into your work with the Fuller Cup, with the support you provide with families, and you have this like deep passion around helping people live a more grateful, loving, supportive, connected life.
Totally. I think it's the only way to live.
I love that. I love that so much. So I just really wanted to bring you on to talk a little bit about why numerology? What is maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and then just share why numerology.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Actually, in university, I have an arts degree with a focus in Latin American studies. And when I was doing that, I was diving into the Mayan calendar, which is very, very number orientated. So I fell in love years ago with this idea of something outside of ourselves that can help us to understand ourselves. Knowledge that comes from more like the divine. Anyway, and then I dropped that and I went and did the normal things, and I went to school. I became a bank manager, and I've been married once before, and now I'm with my second husband, my now forever, and I have two beautiful children. And in all of those kinds of different adventures, I started losing pieces of myself. I started to lose bits of like who Heather was, and I wasn't able to pay attention. And what I mean by that is I lost my awareness, right? I allowed it to slip away. I didn't not do it consciously. I just allowed it to go. And when I started getting coaching for the first time, and then I did the brain game, and it kind of evolved from there with my certification in conscious life design with Joy Kingsborough and yourselves, we started talking about numbers. And it was almost, I believe it was the day that someone said, well, you're a ruling 7, Heather, and look at this, like read it. And I was like, so I read it and I was like, a teacher. Yes, I totally am. Or freedom. I can't let that go. I can't live within a constraint of a box. And so it really started to open my mind and my understanding of those questions where you're like, yeah, that's just who I am. Mm-hmm. And they started to make sense. And so then I really wanted to know more. So I was just barely introduced, and that's why I signed up for practical numerology, was to dive even further. But my inkling was, how can I utilize this information instantly to connect with my kids better?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Especially with you saying, and I know this has been true for me in my past and so many other mothers and parents, we get so caught up in caring and nurturing for these little beings that we have in our world that somehow our needs and priorities end up kind of falling by the wayside until we really are disconnected from them.
Absolutely. I definitely didn't pay attention to my own needs once I became a mom. I was definitely neglectful in that space. But what I knew that I was geared towards is this idea of connection, full, complete, truthful, honest connection. So that's with myself, that's with my kids, my husband, and then with my friends. And numerology has really helped me to land in that security place. Because I also knew as a mom that my kids were so different and I couldn't parent them the same.
Isn't
and this was
truth?
Totally. And then this is all when the like Dr. Shefali was coming into my universe, and conscious parenting. We were starting to hear a lot more about that. But I would really say that numerology is like your edge to conscious parenting. It is like you cannot really do it without it.
Yes. Okay. Tell me more about that. I want to know more about what you see and how numerology and conscious parenting go hand in hand.
Well, first of all, to understand that all our kids are different. We all get that. We all look at them and we get that. But to understand that they require different things from us because of their own ruling numbers, their own numbers that are in the charts. And so like my daughter, for instance, is a 3. So she's like this like abundant human being. I couldn't figure out why her room was so cluttered and she couldn't get rid of things, and it was driving me crazy. And then when I learned all of this about her, I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense. And now I was able to let go. Like I let go of this need to have to tidy up her room all the time because she doesn't need it to be tidy. She actually wants to see all her things. And this is like arts and crafts and everything. She wants to see it. It's beautiful. And then to understand my son, who is a 6, we were struggling at the time when I was really learning this, but he wasn't liking change.
Yeah.
And to understand that his thing is about harmony and balance, and that change is a really big thing for him. It was like, oh, now I need to, I call him in first if plans are changing, and we have a discussion. I don't just throw things at him.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it really, in that conscious parenting realm, it really gives you that perspective of just how to talk to them, how to accept them for who they are, instead of this idea that we had while they were inside our wombs of what these children would be like.
Yeah.
I really think
this because to me, one of the things that I get the most excited about numerology is I know the world will shift the day we all learn to truly love and honor and accept the truth of who we are. And then what I hear you saying is it's like, and then let's take that to the next level by giving our children the love and the nurturance to support who they truly are and allow ourselves to kind of like customize our parenting based on their individual needs, not of what we think, but of just the truth of their code, right?
Yeah. The truth of their code, the truth of like, so understanding like there's so much involved in numerology, but understanding that like why my daughter gets so frustrated. Well, because she's missing a whole bunch of numbers in her chart. And now I get it.
Yeah.
It's not, she's just stubborn. She's just stubborn. No, it's not because she's just stubborn. She's partly that, yes. But there's other things that add to it. And so certain environments need to be created for them to ensure that they feel all of that connection.
Absolutely. And I love this so much because to me, one of the gifts of numerology is understanding polarity, right? And like when we are parenting and we're in the midst, in the muck of it all, we see everything in often the extreme polarities of challenge. Like, oh, they're stubborn. Oh, they won't listen. Oh, their room's a mess, or whatever's happening. And in numerology, it gives you that perspective to kind of step back a bit and say, well, what's the polarity of what's happening here? And what's the gift in this energy if I can actually provide it the support it needs to like grow and expand, right?
Totally. And you also recognize yourself in those moments. Like, what am I good at with this? Like, how do I relate to my kids when I know that she has to have a messy room and I don't enjoy it because it's not how I would have my room? Mm-hmm. Right? Because I've embraced, I'm more the minimalist. I like the things I like. I don't need much else. And so to understand that that's not my space to create, that's for her. And so it allows that. Like, this is why she has pets in her room. This is why she's got, all the things. Yeah. It's a zoo. But she loves it. And so then I released that attachment to trying to say, well, you should have this way. But no, this is how she thrives. The more I take away, the less she thrives.
What a gift in seeing that. Mm-hmm. Like we all, obviously, as moms, as parents, want to see our children thrive. And it's often, I think, maybe an old paradigm parenting, but, I still find the residuals in it in habits of my own where, I think like the control, it's like, I need to set the rules. I need to set the this. I need to, and it's like, no, that's not where they thrive. Right?
Well, yeah. And if we set boundaries, in general boundaries is what I find. What I found with my kids is I had to set general boundaries, and then I have to have we have to have flexibility in it. And that's what numerology taught me is here's where the flexibility has to come in. And it actually makes it easier for me to talk to each of them about the differences that they have. If that makes sense. Like, so I can say to my son, like, oh, well, we didn't do this with Brooklyn because she doesn't respond that way, but you respond really well to this. Yeah. And then he can sit back and go, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Like he takes that moment to take it in. Yeah. And I've read them. Like I gave them the Cole's Notes version of their sort of chart, but I've said, like, he knows, he will say to me, well, I'm your 6 and I love snuggles,
It's so good. Just
So
embracing the truth of who he is.
totally. And it's become a really big part of how I relate, how they now relate. And it's just, it creates really good conversation too about how
Absolutely.
they can start to understand themselves
I love
early.
it. Oh, so when you look at, like you said, there's all these different things that have come across your world over the years, and conscious parenting and Dr. Shivali and different tools and things you've picked up along the way. What do you feel sets numerology apart? Like, why is this a thing that people need to, I mean, I feel like people need to look at it, but people could look at it.
I think for numerology, like especially when I read it out, like to my husband, for instance, who's more on the skeptical side of a lot of this spiritual or connection ideas. He's just learning, so he's not actually a lot closer than we think. But it helped me to explain to him, like when I say why he goes, why numerology? And I said, you know what, babe? It's just about getting to know you at such a level in the universe that is unparalleled to any other knowledge that we have. It's another tool to tap into your intuition.
Yeah.
Right. And it's another tool that we can utilize for talking about our finances.
You can sit with mommy for a minute, but the battery's dead. Mira's bringing me a tablet and asking.
Oh, she got her tablet. Hi, Mira.
Want to say hi?
Hi, Mira. How are you, cutie? You're so big.
This one's dead. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find a show for you on here. Just pause me for a second here.
No worries. And this is understanding that we have to make room for that.
We do. And this is, as most parents would know, kind of a tricky time of the day when everyone kind of gets a little antsy.
Yes.
A horsey show?
No, Peppa Pig.
Peppa Pig. All right.
Oh, perfect. Good one.
Okay. That's the one on the candy one.
Okay.
Oh, that one.
No, I don't have that one. Here we go. Peppa Pig, right there. We'll take that to the other room. Oops. There we go. Okay, go take it to the other room. Okay.
So I think if numerology, I've always used to like read the horoscopes, right? When we were growing up. We always wanted to find those. And I never always attuned with everything it said. I think they're getting a lot more accurate, or people are actually tuning in a little bit more, but they have to, I think with numbers, it was like, you couldn't deny the information.
No.
It was unfallible. Like, it was like, yeah. And if you didn't, but like align with something, then it gave you a reason to look into it.
Yes.
So it's that retro or reflective piece in numerology, which I find I don't always get from the astrology part.
Mm-hmm.
But numerology definitely is like, oh, hey, I just delivered a blueprint the other day, and my client said, you said one thing in there that now I'm going to go back and look into.
Yes. And this is one of the things I am obsessed with about it, is how it's such a powerful tool for personal growth and development. Yeah. If you want to know what your blind spots are, if you want to know where you've maybe conditioned yourself to ignore, or for some reason don't appreciate about yourself, those aspects, numerology will shine a light on it. And then you get to choose, is this something I actually take a look at, like your client, and do I decide to embrace? And I remember, because part of my numerology code is being a teacher.
Right. Like me.
You and me both. And I remember one day when that first came to light, I was like, I'm not a teacher. Like, I'm a coach. Yes. I share things. Yes. Like, I have some ideas. I'm a thinker. Yes. A teacher? I don't know. But it was one of those things where I just like couldn't get it out of my brain. And it was like the seed had been planted, and I couldn't let it go.
As soon as I read that word, I was like, yes. And I kept going with that. So whether we label ourselves as a coach or whatever, and even coaching is teaching, right? Like, we are teaching. And you taught me like a lot of things, which is funny when you were denying that, because I was in that with you at the time. And you're like, no. And I was like, sailboat. That's all I wanted to say to you. Right? You taught me all about the sailboat. But those things stick with you, right? And so that tells you the quality of a good teacher as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Back in the day of the boat analogy.
I still have it. I still have that drawing.
Oh my gosh, for anybody who's listening and remembers the days of the boat analogy, like please comment just to like remind me of how fun that was. So, it was so fun. I love it. Amazing. And I think, to me, one of the most basic human needs that actually would solve a heck of a lot of challenge and conflict is just the fact of being seen. Like I just, when people actually sit with you and listen and hear and see you in your truth, it is one of the most rewarding, powerful, life-changing things. And that's one of the things I love about numerology is how we can feel so seen in that space.
Oh, totally. And then see yourself. Because I think for so long we say we see ourselves, and I know as I'm pivoting and transitioning within my own life and business in lots of different ways, I do fall onto that. Like, so I go into my forecasts that I have my friends have been doing for me, and I really do read them and say, okay, this is what's not happening for me because I'm not following this. Or the other day, knowing about our sevens, that we are physical, we're on that physical plane, that the other day I was like, I couldn't journal, I couldn't do anything. And I just threw my running shoes on and I was like, I'm going for a hike. Because I know that to get things moving in my body, to help my mind and my everything come into one, I have to physically move, like physically move.
Physically just move. I know. And it's so good. It's like if you can have those kind of like 911 activities that you do when nothing else is working, it's a miracle, right?
And nature helps. Nature helps.
Nature does help, absolutely. And especially for those of us who have physical plane ruling numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, when you deliver that, so movement, physicality, learning that about myself really helped to anchor in all the things that I've loved to do and not just be like, oh, I just like to do them. No, like these are actually things that my body needs and requires.
And they're coded in you. Yes. And that's the way that you support yourself to be the best self you can be. Oh,
totally.
Love it. So I would love to know, how do you feel like numerology has really impacted you, benefited you, and affected your business?
Well, you know what? It added an extra element into my business that really gave me what I felt like was this like handlebar to hold on to. So I knew that I had a solid tool, and I mean like solid tool in my back pocket when I was with my clients. So it became like the first question in my intake is, what's your birth date? And whether or not I deliver a blueprint to them, I have a really good starting base with them already before we have a session.
Take that over.
Now I wouldn't say my business is like a huge business because I'm still like this big in a big pond, but that's okay because I have made
you because I have been watching you and you have grown slow and steady and stably, step by step, very deliberately over the years. And it is amazing because that is the kind of growth that actually is stable, lasting growth. That's like foundational, right?
Yes, I've been focusing on that, and especially in this year with what we know we're in that
the universal
foundation
four.
the universal 4, that it's even more pertinent. So I'm in a year 5 in a universal 4. So like I came out of my 4, and that's what I was really focusing on last year, was really ensuring that I had a foundation, and now I can do a bit more of the freedom things that I want to do and add into it. But it has just given my business an edge up. It's given me a better way of connecting with my clients. It's giving me a better way of even actually managing my calendar. Now, this is a big thing. When I started using universal energy numbers, I had to go in and re-switch all my calendar because I was like, oh, this is going to land on this day. That is not going to be a good day for me. And I already knew that. Right. And so I'm not the Monday to Friday person. And I tend to, because I don't operate that way anyway. That's my freedom.
Yes.
But it really helped me to understand my energy. And that was really important. So I knew how I was going to show up. So I'll give you an example. Today is today a 1? Yes. I love 1 days. I don't know what. I just love 1 days. I'm on the upswing to getting into my own personal day. 8s and 9s. not my fun days. They're not productive. I have to be more loungy. I have to allow myself to be, and to understand that about that, I think also gave my business an edge up, because then I'm not trying to do things that are awkward. You're like, oh, I don't feel like doing this today, but I'm just going to push
You're
through.
going to force yourself to do it on a day that doesn't fit for you.
Yeah.
There you go, baby.
So like understanding our own flow, that's what it's done for my business, is I can really manage my flow. And so I pre-do a calendar a month ahead, and I know exactly what I'm looking at coming forward.
I love that, because it gives you the structures in order to make sure that you get accomplished what you need to, but in such a way that honors your energy and your inspiration, which is where, you know, we want to operate from when we are in tune.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that has definitely been that. And it's also helping me to release, you know, all my other karmas in this world, but to understand why, like I just got, I'm a 6 of diamonds. So I got told that, and I was like, what does that mean? And then they're like, it's a financial karma. And I was like, that's why I struggle with money. Right. And so that actually opened up my finances. Yeah. And now they're a lot more free flowing.
Yes. And now that you know that about yourself, you can develop a pathway to move forward with that information.
Yeah. So that's where I would say numerology was a hugest benefit in my own business, because now I understood that flow.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Oh, so what would you say, like, who do you think would benefit from studying numerology?
Every mom in the whole wide world. If you don't hear me, hear this. Parents need to have this information for their own children. It really, truly will help you feel like you're on a different playing field as far as parenting goes. Who else? Anyone who really just wants to connect with themselves, just wants to understand themselves. Like, do you have nudges that say, I understand, like I just say that's just because of how I am. When you utilize that, do you ever ask yourself, why is that just how you are? This is what numerology will give you. It will give you that foundation of saying, yes, now I understand why I say that all the time. And I actually took that out of my vocabulary. I don't say it's just because how I am. I'm just like, it's part of me.
Yeah. I love it. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing, because it gives us permission to be fully ourselves, right? Fully. And embrace that and recognize the gift that it is that we were designed the way we were.
Yeah. If you want to feel like authentic in your own skin.
Yeah.
I really think that numerology will provide that for you. I truly believe that to my core, that if you're looking for the authenticity, if that's a value you hold within your core values, then this just gives you that edge up. You don't have to do delivered blueprints. This just could be a personal information gain. But then you could take it that much further if you want to, as the rest of us all do, because once you're in, you're addicted.
Totally.
You all know.
Totally. Yeah. And I love that you said that, because it's true. A lot of people come to numerology to learn about themselves and their families or their close friends. But the way I've set up practical numerology is you can, once you're in, you're in. You can participate and play again as many times as you want. You can retake the class as many times as I'm offering it. And so people will usually start learning about themselves, and then like kind of their friends and family, and then be like, okay, I need to share this with the world in a bigger way.
Yeah. Or you find yourself in a communication with someone and you're like, what's your birth date? And then you pull your calculator out, right? Because you're trying to figure, you just want to know. And it does do that. Which I love.
And I'm never communication, right?
Yeah. Because I want to know that I'm meeting people where they're at. So it actually helps you to be more present, actually, too.
It truly does.
I too find. Yeah. And hey, by the way, I don't know anyone else that's ever said, hey, you pay for this course and you get to take it for a lifetime. That isn't not, but this has been the biggest blessing, is that when you want to pop back in, once you've done it, it's always there. You can, whenever Megan offers it. I am in June 23rd, because I want to continue to deepen my connection to the numbers, but also the intuitive part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I know we're kind of starting to run a little bit longer than I initially thought, but you did say something that I just feel like I really want to touch on really quick, which is the numbers give structure for your intuition to grow and develop and flourish. And that takes time. Yes, this to happen quick, but then in order to strengthen and grow, it's a practice that requires dedication, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And you'll feel it when you fall it off. Trust me, I know I've fallen off the wagon a few times and I haven't paid attention. And then all it takes is one moment to say, oh, what is the energy of today? And to try and figure that out. And then boom, you're back in it. Oh, let me go check in with what I wasn't doing.
Yes.
And it does give you that sort of list of things that, hey, when you're not feeling optimal, maybe you should try this. And so for me, that's my gauge. Like I said, when I don't feel good and I'm feeling stuck, I know as a 7, I have to move my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just so appreciate you sharing your experience and sharing your story. And I know that so many people are going to get so much from hearing you. And everyone who's listening, be sure you go and add Heather as a friend. Go and join her community, The Fuller Cup, especially if
Yes.
you have kids, because she provides so much valuable content and support there for free. You got to check it out. And thank you for joining us today, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Megan.
Okay, thank you.